Hey everyone, I'm Gonzo. This is Mark. Welcome to Dungeon Class. Today, we're going to talk about how to win at Dungeons and Dragons. All right, Mark. We've got a question on our hands. The question is, how do you win at the game of Dungeons and Dragons? It is a game.
Yeah. I have people ask me, I've literally had people ask me, like, Dungeons and Dragons, how do you win at that game?
Right.
And I really think that comes from people playing other games wherein there is a winner and a loser.
Which is almost every other game.
Yeah, right. This game's not like any other game. Really, there is no winners and losers per se. Mm-hmm. Winning looks very, very different. There is winning.
There is winning.
But winning looks different in Dungeons.
So then how do we win at Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, I would say, first of all, it kind of as a player, is the real progression in the game. So normally when you think of a role-playing game, you think of, say, Skyrim, or you think of any other role-playing game, Diablo, or any other, that you are leveling up. The idea is to get stronger and you get through everything, but you want to constantly be leveling up. But yeah, there's levels in Dungeons and Dragons.
You level up. You get magic items.
Yeah.
You put on better armor.
Loot.
You.
And you do have those things in Dungeons and Dragons.
All right.
You have those.
And that's not winning.
It's not the be all and end all, because really there's more to just leveling. That's not why you play necessarily. Okay. It's more robust than that. It's progressing as a character. Your character is progressing, and how does it progress? Well, maybe the backstory comes out more. You kind of find out where that character came from. It feels like a real character because of their backstory, and that starts to come out. Kind of like when you meet a person. You don't know everything about them when you first meet them.
That's right.
But then as you have experiences with them, you start learn more and more about them. And that's kind of the same thing in the game. You learn more and more about their backstory, where they came from, who they are.
So when we do our interviews and stuff, we always ask people, what are your favorite moments in Dungeons and Dragons? It's never about the items they found.
No.
It's never about, I reached 10th level and I was able to use this spell.
Yeah.
It's always about, I remember this time when my character found out who their father was.
Right, and that brings up a good point. A lot of times in their backstory, they have a goal. Like there's something they're trying to find their father. They're trying to find a epic tome that they've been looking for. So those are the kind of things. So those things come to fruition. Another thing, as you're winning in Dungeons and Dragons, if you are you're kind of learning to role play your alignment, and your alignment is your moral compass. So let's say you're playing a lawful neutral character, then you're starting to kind of feel out what's that like, and what are the decisions you make as a character. How do those fit into lawful neutral or lawful good or whatever,
lawful evil or something.
Yeah. So if you're using alignment, and there's a whole nother topic, is whether or not you use alignment. Right. But if you're using alignment, it's whether are you filling out what that alignment means for your character. As a character, are you acting that what fits into that alignment?
So basically, if your character is, when you came into the table, you decided how your character was going to react to certain things, and if you were able to keep that throughout the game and not make decisions based on what's best for for you or or whatever, it's more about, did I stick to what my character was?
And I think
good.
Yeah, and I think it's okay though if you change.
Yeah.
Because honestly, people's morals do change and the world, so that's not a bad thing. But I think you're really winning if you're starting to figure out what that means, and there's consequences of that. Your your alignment, your morals change. Hopefully not, but you can.
They evolve.
The situation.
They can evolve one way or the other.
Absolutely.
So another way we've talked about that a player can win at Dungeons and Dragons is that they become a part of the creating process.
Right.
And you and I talked about when you first start anything, you're generally shy, you're reserved,
right,
because you don't know what's going on. This is a pretty can be a very complicated game, so it can lead to people being even more shy.
Right.
More reserved,
right,
maybe just letting things happen around the table.
Mm-hmm.
But when your character and you as a player are now helping create the story, and you're getting more involved in your character that you're playing, I think that's winning at Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
You're not scared to make a decision for the group or have a vote in the decision making process.
Right.
You're not scared of going outside of the box that you're used to being in.
Yeah, I think that's good. Another thing is, I think, is part of that. You're not involved. You're not afraid to learn to work together as a team.
Oh, good.
I think you learn that in the game, that the importance of that. This is not a solo experience. That's part of the thing that makes it really exciting. Is you're playing as a group. You're learning to play as a group. You're learning that there are times that you need to discuss as a group what we're going to do next. Another thing that can be a real challenge is that your alignment is one thing, another person in the groups is another. I think one of the things that really comes out, it's tough for paladins if they're lawful good. That's a tough thing, because sometimes you as a neutral character find yourself fighting something like, oh, why are we going to go risk this? Risk our lives to this damsel in distress? Oh, because the paladin wants to do that.
Right.
So there's finding that balance in the game, but also the idea that you take turns, deciding things. Like maybe we have a leader, maybe not, but you have you as a group come to a consensus and learn that you are a team, not just an individual.
Yeah, it's not just I. So.
And that's bad when you have one person going, well, I think we're going to do this and then we're going to do that. Yeah. And if you're holding back and what do you guys want to do? I think
that's true. Winning. That's winning as well. All right. Well, another way that we talked about actually was that you win in D&D when you are helping or actively involved in helping other people learn the game.
Right.
Now, how does that work? If you're helping other people learn the game, what are we talking about there?
Yeah, I would say, let's say that you have been playing a character. You've played a lot of characters that have, say, spells, for example. Okay. Spells seem to be a real challenge, especially to new players, understanding how they work, the idea of what you need to cast them, spell slots, all that kind of stuff. So if you are a person to have that experience, you're helping out someone who's new to that particular character. Yeah. And it's kind of interesting, because even though you could be a veteran player, but you've never played a bard before. Right. But yet you look to the bard, the guy who's played a bard in the past, like, dude, I don't understand how this works. That is kind of, that's winning. That's working together.
I've experienced that. When you're a dungeon master a lot, you don't get to play a lot. Yeah. And because of that, there's things I don't know about playing a certain class, and I've learned them. Like, I played Rogue for the first time recently. Right. In a long time, and I was like, "Oh, you can do that? That's right. Yeah. I forgot." And someone who has played a rogue at the table, it's like, "Yeah, that's cunning action. You get to do that."
Absolutely, yeah.
Good so stuff. Helping other people learn the game and get more comfortable with the game is definitely you winning at D&D.
Absolutely, and I think ultimately, you're winning if you're having fun.
Awesome.
As a player, if you're having fun, you win. That's the goal.
That's true.
All right. So what about Dungeon Masters, Gonzo? How are they winning in Dungeons and Dragons?
Dungeon Masters, yeah. So it's not player versus DM. In fact, there's a famous quote by Gary Gygax that there is no winning and losing in Dungeons and Dragons. So it isn't player versus DM, but it is important that your players are engaged with the game. And as a dungeon master, if you're looking around the table and they know what's going on in the story, and you've simplified the story enough where everyone understands what their goals are, what they're trying to do as a group, and they know the key characters or players in the storyline, then you're winning as a DM. That's one of the hardest parts of running a game.
Yeah, I would say so.
It can get you can get so caught up in the story, and you've got everything written down, and you've got notes, but the players have a lot to keep track of too, including, like we talked about spells, but including everything your character can do. Yeah. So I think just in the fact that if your players are really engaged in the game, then you're winning as a dungeon master. If they know what's going on, they know what their goals are, they know what the story's is happening, where they should go next, that kind of thing. Now, it doesn't mean they can't get lost or forget every once in a while, but just in general, I think that's one good thing.
I think another thing as a dungeon master, if you get this rhythm down of planning, and there is kind of a rhythm to it. So the rhythm, what I mean by that is planning as a DM has a lot of things, and so it could be that the rhythm, you figure out what works for you to get ready for that game. Let's say that you play on Thursday nights. So after the game on Thursday, maybe you like to prepare on Saturday, you like to prepare for the next session, and you start sketching out some of the encounters that they're going to encounter. And maybe that's just what you just kind of put it together just a little bit on Saturday, and then maybe on Tuesday it works. You have a little pocket of time to work on what kind of monsters they're going to encounter, or put in some of those final details.
So being organized in a way where you figure out how much time you need to put into it.
Right, what works for you, and it's comfortable, and you come prepared. If you've got this rhythm down and you feel really good and ready to go on that night, then you've hit that rhythm. And I think that's winning, is that you're ready to go when it's time to play. Life happens. That's not always going to be the thing.
Right.
But there will be a rhythm you get into, and you'll be taken out of that rhythm from time to time. But you'll find out what works best for you.
Okay.
It's always better to kind of have a plan than to, although they're going to blow it all out of the water anyway.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, the town blows up at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
The city's on fire.
Yeah, it never goes as planned. So you want to have a plan B, and that's part of that planning rhythm.
Well, I think that brings up our next thing, and that was balance. Finding balance in the game. And I think you mentioned to me that it isn't just about the characters versus the monsters and finding that balance, creature rating versus...
And that's important,
Which is important, but it's also finding the balance around the table, on whose backstories are involved with who, and maybe not focusing all on one main character, or maybe the loudest guy at the table, or girl at the table, or whatever. But finding a good balance where everyone's involved.
So a lot of that's going to happen at session 0. That's going to happen. Yeah. But as the game goes on, you're going to notice things like, man, this group really likes puzzles. Yeah. Or this group really likes to deal with traps for some reason, or doors.
We don't like doors.
Yeah. So whatever that is, and maybe the combat, do they like a lot of combat, a little bit of combat? Finding that balance that really makes it work for that group, because every group's different. Some group just love the combat and are not too keen on puzzles. Yeah. So
some just want to hang out in a tavern, and the bard wants to sing and make money for the group, and that's what you got to deal with.
Or let everybody die in the city, and then
while
just
they're sitting in Lehman's tiny hut.
Yeah, that has happened. That did happen. All right,
and I think that leads to our last point for, and that is, again, it's fun. Yeah. If your players at the table are having fun.
Yeah. There's a nice young lady coming in here to do some business. And I'm not going to lie, it's not cheap. And looking at the bunch of you, I don't know if they're in your wheelhouse to afford it, but let's give it a try anyway. What you looking for? How many are you looking to buy, huh?
How many? How many would we need? Can each one carry more than one?
And if laughter is the most prominent emotion that's going around your table, then you're winning at D&D as a dungeon master. I truly feel that.
Absolutely.
And we haven't played, not that we're winners or good dungeon masters.
Right.
We may be, but we haven't played a game where there hasn't been... We haven't played where we haven't laughed.
Yeah,
and I think that's key. That's why we keep playing. That's why we created a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Is we believe in this, and that it has the ability to help people just to laugh on a daily basis, or every time you play.
And speaking of laughing, we like to, if you like what we're doing here, please subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you hit the notifications bell so you're notified when we drop these videos, because we could drop one like that. We could do that. All right, and I think that's all we have time for today, Gonzo. Is that true?
Yeah.
Well, we might want to have them comment something, right, Gonzo?
Yeah, please tell us. Please tell us your things that you've thought of that maybe how you win at D&D. Some of the things that we didn't mention in this video. Please let us know in the comments below. We appreciate it. And with that,
class dismissed.
I will. I have to surprise myself.
Like,
hey, everybody.
Hey.
Oh, hi there.
Hi.
Oh, hi there.
When did you get here?
I didn't see you there. Welcome.
That's the way you do it. Yeah,
so anyway, whoa.
When did you get here?